right? All you crazy busy people, you gain an hour. You're probably gobbled up doing something else, right? But next week, you gain. No one seems to even care. That's awesome to me, man. You got kids in your home and you gain an hour. It's awesome. The problem with having little kids in your home, no one tells them you're gaining an hour and that they should stay in bed yet another hour. No one informs the little kids of what this looks like. Apparently, no one cares. So, today we end our series. Called It's Just Not Convenient. In this whole series, we've been talking about something pretty big. We've been talking about this is what God's up to in the world, right? And then we talked about the fact that this is how we join God in what He's doing. And we've been pretty blunt, pretty honest about the fact it's not going to be convenient to your life. If you are the common North American Christian looking for comfort and success, or maybe you're just not a Christian and just marching through life, I just want to tell you, being this disciple of Jesus stuff, it's not convenient. It's not going to mesh. It's not going to match what you want to do in your life. And we just had this whole series talking about it. And one of the things we've done here is we've talked about the 5 expectations we have of everybody who says, Mountain Ridge Church is my church home. And we've talked about the 5 expectations we have of everybody who wants to be a more formal part of Mountain Ridge Church. And so in the last 8 weeks, we've had in the handouts this thing called a servant covenant. We've never done this before. We've been busy doing other stuff. We never had time. But this year, we have a servant covenant in there. And for the last 8 weeks, it's been there. We wanted you to read it. And so today, at the end of today, there's a whole bunch of servant covenants out there. We want you to grab one, and we want you to go home, and we want you to read it. Because really, what's on that servant covenant is your way of saying, me as an individual, or us as a couple, or us as a family, we've read this. It's very important to us. We believe in the vision of Mountain Ridge Church. We want to be more of a formal part of Mountain Ridge Church. It doesn't get you anything. Sorry about that. It's not like Walmart, or I should say BJ's, where you get 10 to 15% off. It doesn't work. So I encourage you to just grab one, read it, pray about it, and bring it back, because we are very serious about where we're going. We're very serious about the building on Big Dam Road and who we are as a people. And so when people come to visit, we're very serious about, hey, this is what it means to be a part of Mountain Ridge Church. And just to review, because I love to review, I'm a very simple person, I figured if I review it enough, it'll stick with people. But the first expectation we have of everybody who calls Mountain Ridge Church a church home, number one, expectation above them all, should be obvious, is to love God. It should be normal in our community that we're pursuing God. It should be normal. It should be normal that we have conversations with our friends and our family that I am going to go be with God. I'm going to go and I'm going to be alone with Him. It should be normal that we actually take a break from our busy day, not make excuses from it, take a break from the busyness of the day and the week, and just go and be alone with it. That should be normal. It should be weird if you attend here for a long period of time and you say, I don't have a Bible, I'm not pursuing God, I just go to church. That should be weird. If you're going here, it should be normal that you're pursuing God. The second thing we talked about is to love others. And it should just be normal that we're loving others. It should be normal that we're walking through life in all the environments of our lives and we're able to absorb the hurt and the comments of other people and give back grace. That should be normal. Other than me playing basketball at lunch, it should be normal that you absorb the hurts of other people. I'm waiting. Come on, figure it out. I play basketball at lunch. They hit me. I hit them back. Come on now, people. Okay. Apparently, we're just on 2 different pages today. It should be normal that we're walking in all the environments. I'm dying up here. All the environments of our lives, and we give back grace. It just should be normal. And we also talked that Sunday that says, yeah, you know what? We're not someone's chew toy, but you know what? It should be normal that you can do this. And expectation number 3, it should be normal that we're growing. It should just be normal. It should be a part of it should be a habit. We're growing, we're reading, we're developing, we know more, we're closer to God than we were last year. I mean, that should just be normal. It should be normal for a group of Christians to get together and say it's normal to grow and develop. That's true. It should be normal. It should be normal in our conversations that say, I read in Hebrews, and this is what that means to me, and this is how I'm applying it. What does it mean to you? That should be normal. It should be healthy. We're growing, we're learning, we're developing. We're just this kind of community. And number 4, we said last week, it should be normal to love serving. And we really talked about what it means to serve and what it means, because in the scripture it says when you do that, you release God's bright presence. When you serve, when you say an encouraging word, when you take all of who you are, the good, the bad, and ugly, and you serve, and you say an encouraging word, or however that looks for you. We just talked a lot about last week. You're releasing God's presence. And we said that's being generous. And we said when you're not serving, when you're not doing anything, we call that greedy. You're not releasing God's presence. And so it should be normal for us, expectation number 4, that we are serving. And then today, we get to talk about money. This is awesome. Aren't you glad you came today? And I got money up here. Not a lot, so don't get too excited. But it should be normal. It's expectation number 5. It should be normal as a group of people that we're coming back to God and we're giving him a tithe and we're saying, we love you. Thank you for what you've given us. We're going to come back and we're going to give it back to you. It should be normal that we're coming back to God and we're saying, you know what? I'm going to give you something, and I'm going to give you something back. So, because the subject is so complicated, I mean, it is so complicated. What I wanted to do, I went and I tapped Matt, and then it didn't work because I'd only spent out $10, so I had to go inside and get $10. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this, because this issue of tithing and issue of money, it just kind of makes you squeamish, doesn't it? You're in church, and the guy's starting to talk about money, reminds you of all the people on TV, right? The funniest thing about TV people is they always say, have faith, send me money. And I'm like, well, if you have so much faith, send me money. Let's see if God blesses you. I love that, but no one ever says that. Okay, so don't you feel that? Maybe you see the weird hair and the costumes. Like, really? Where do you eat? Because if you ate there, I'm a Christian. I'd still make fun of you, because that's weird. Anyway, okay, there's $10. You get what I'm saying? So you'll see the weird hair. Okay, 1, 2, see, it's complex. 3, 4, 5, where am I going next? 6, all right, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me just share with you how complex this is. I wanted to give you a visual because I think it hits home when we have visuals. Here's the deal. God gives you money. Now, we can wrestle with if God gives it to you or you earn it yourself. But for every $10 that God gives you, God says, here's the deal. I want one of them back. I want you, it's a worship thing, it's a heart thing. God doesn't need more money. He's loaded. He owns all the gold and silver. So let's just get over that. God doesn't need your money. But it's a heart thing. It's a worship thing. It's a love thing. It's saying, I recognize that you gave me this, and I want to give you this back. So God says, the way you do your finances, here's the deal. There's 10 of them, and all I want you to do is I just want you to give me one of these back. That's it. I just want you to do that. And then he said, according to Scripture, he says, here's the deal. I want you to take another one. This is where it gets complicated. I want you to take another one, and I want you to save it. I mean, it's for you. I want you to save it because you're going to need it. There's a retirement. There's bad things coming. You're going to need this dollar later. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this. Remember, we started with 10. Stick with me. This one, and give it back to me because it's a love thing. It's not that I need your money thing. And the second one is I want you to save it. Just take one and save it because you're going to need it. And then check this out. Then he says, I want you to go live on all these. Like, I just want you, we just took 2 out, right? I just want you to live on all the rest of these. Go buy a shoe, a sugar lollipop, whatever your fancy is. Go to Giant, right? That'll be $1. Go to BJ's. I mean, you're going to Christmas come. Here's what you do. You take this money. It's yours. I gave it to you. Go spend it. Go live life with it. Now, let me ask you this, when I just went over that visual. Y'all get it? Was that pretty simple? Did you all get it? Okay, there's 10 of these, okay? People just, come on now. Woo, the Halloween party was a little late for you last night. Okay, there's 10 of these. Let me ask you something. When you see that, does it sound mean? I mean, seriously, does it sound mean? I don't think so. I look at that and God says, give it back to me. It's a love thing. Take one and save it and then spend the rest. He's like, here's the deal. Here's 10 and you get to keep 9 of them. Just give one back to me. Does that sound mean? I don't think so. Because when I read Scripture and when I see this played out, I think, well, is one all you expect? Are you serious? For all the things you've done for me? You sent your son on the cross and you only want 1? I mean, don't you want 3? No, I just want 1. Sounds generous. Does it sound restrictive to you? Like there's rules. Here we go again. It's church and money. Hold the wallet. Here we go again. Does it sound like there's rules and it's restrictive? I don't think so. Maybe you can email me later and say, Ken, you don't get it. It is restrictive. I don't think so. I look at what he did for us. I look about his love and his grace, and he says, I've given you jobs, I've given you the ability, I've given you friends, I've given you all this stuff. Give them back to me. You didn't keep the other 9. I'm thinking this is pretty generous. I'm amazed he doesn't want more. Let me ask you this, because I love this discussion about money in church. Does the whole God, church, money thing, does it just feel weird to you? And you feel like it's designed to make you suffer, and you're like, oh, that's terrible, and at the end of my life, the church is going to fleece me of all my money, and it's just built for me to suffer and fail. Oh, my word, I can't believe God gives me 10 and then wants one back and saves the other. That's just insane. I don't think so. And I look at this, it's common sense. He wants one because it advances his kingdom. He wants another one to save so that you're prepared for the future. And then he says, go live on these. This is awesome. Let me ask you this before we go on. How many of you, don't raise your hands like I am, how many of you have friends and family and they're like, oh my word, you give money to that place? Oh, stop it. You did not. Dorothy, come over here. Dorothy, you cannot give money to a church. Whatever, you can attend. You can attend. Don't go there. It's awful. It's horrible. You never give money to a church. It's awful. How many, don't raise your hand, how many have family and friends, they find out you're going to church because that's freaky enough, and then they find out you're giving $5 and they're like, oh, don't do it. It's terrible. Yeah, we all got it. I was kind of raised in church, so from my point of view, you kind of expected to give to church. But I know many of you, that's pretty common, isn't it? That whole money, God, church thing, it's just weird, right? Now this is what's funny. This is what I want to do with you. What would happen in your life, what would happen in a person's life if they lived like this their entire lives? Let's play this out. Let's say you have a son or a daughter who's 10, and you train them, and you talk to them about money, and they did what I just said, what God just said in Scripture, and they do it till the day they die. Let's go through this, and let's see what the long-term implication would be. The long-term implication would be, number one, is that your son or daughter, they would give 10% back to God. What happens with that 10%? God doesn't need it. God, he owns everything. It's not a God thing. It's a love, it's a worship thing. 2 things happen. Number one, God's kingdom is advanced. Let's be for real. The more money that the local church has, the better and more effective they are. And number 2 is the grip of greed doesn't control your heart anymore. All of a sudden, because you're generous, you're taking the best of what you have and you're giving one back. All of a sudden, you don't see